Oh boy. So being called a right-wing MAGA hat, internet troll, and an anti-American lefty in the same day after posting my last video, politics, as it is right now, is just two sides going at each other and begging for attention and also demanding compliance. And as I sat there looking at my social media, trying to figure out why everyone was behaving like a mongoloid, it struck me. They're all the same person. Republicans, Democrats, they're all so dogmatic, and so I'm going to look at both major party presidential candidates and explain to you why voting for either, using the criticisms from your own party, would be hypocritical. So Republicans say that Biden is old and creepy, while at the same time supporting a candidate in his mid-70s and has a terrible record with women, including a few credible rape accusations. Democrats say Trump is a racist, sexist, homophobe, while at the same time supporting a candidate who says that black people can't be Republican, has credible rape accusations by a former staffer, and once advocated that schools should lose funding if they taught acceptance of homosexuality. And I know this is hard to believe for some of you, but maybe the people running for the highest office in the land, they might not be the best people to look to as, a moral superior. And if this video pisses you off, makes you mad, makes you want to write an angry little comment, what you're really angry at is your own cognitive dissonance. It's not me. Trump is a liar. Biden is a liar. Almost all politicians lie, so stop morally grandstanding about how great you are when you vote for one party over another. You're no better than anyone or smarter than anyone because of who you vote for. In fact, if you claim you are, it's probably the opposite. In the 2020 election, I doubt I will vote for a major party candidate because neither of them have earned my vote. Trump is like, watch how good I drink water. I drink water so well. The media, they don't want you to know how good I drink water. And Biden is like, I like kids rubbing up and down my legs and the sunlight, and both your candidates are dumb, and I don't want to hear it. On to the next topic. Well, Nicholas Cannon got himself into some hot water, and indeed, after some comments he made, he was fired. And those comments were made on his very own podcast. Now, to make sure we get the full context of his comments, at least the ones I've seen from his podcast, I'm going to play you the full clip. It's about 2 minutes long. I know it's long, but and then we're going to talk about it.
Then let's go to what it really is. Then when we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear in that
just genetic annihilation,
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear, they're acting out of low self-esteem, they're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments, so they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Okay, so what was wrong with these comments? A lot, actually, but let's pick them through piece by piece. So to start, Nick goes off on a tangent saying that the reason that non-melanated people, that just means white people, fear people of color for their lack of melanin in their skin, the white people's lack of melanin in their skin, and that fear comes from the idea that a lack of melanin will lead to genetic annihilation. There's actually a lot of different theories on the genetic mutations in skin color and body type. However, the one I find most interesting is long-term exposure to different types of environments that lead to different genetic traits to help us survive in those specific environments. So dark skin was developed in places where the people living there were exposed to high amounts of sunlight and therefore high amounts of UV radiation. Therefore, developing more melanin in their skin would have been a genetic advantage, as melanin helps protect the body from that UV radiation. Certain other aspects can also be contributed to the environments humans were exposed to, like why white people have very thin lips. This genetic characteristic was developed as a result of living in cold environments. And it helps the body retain heat easier because there's less open skin to the frigid air. Human anthropology is actually a super interesting subject, and you should read on it if you have the time. He then goes on to say that because of this fear and the lack of melanin, white people are, quote, a little less and have a lack of compassion. He also says when white people were sent to the Caucasus region, which is a mountainous region, and it can get very cold, the sun started to deteriorate the skin of white people, and that then the white people had to be evil and behave like savages to survive, unlike people with melanin, or high amounts of melanin. I gotta be clear, because it's not like white people have no melanin in their skin, it's just a lot less. I'm gonna give a little history lesson, just in case you weren't fortunate enough to learn this on your own in school, but most of human history is actually a disgusting mess of horrible acts done from one person to another, no matter where you were on the globe. We could talk about the Gauls in Europe, the ancient Egyptians, the Mongols in Asia, the Aztecs in Mexico, the Incas in Peru, the Crusaders in Jerusalem, the Caliphate in almost the entire world at the time. All of them committed atrocities. So saying one group is more evil than another by separating them in terms of skin color is meaningless. All types of people have done terrible things. It's not a hard concept to understand. And then he goes on to say that white people are closer to animals and that white people have a conquering mentality because of this. So now to talk about a conquering mentality, let's go over every, empire, human empire that's existed. I'm gonna list them. They're just gonna scroll while I'm talking. They're just gonna scroll every human empire, because it's every type of person has had their own empire, and if you want to talk about a conquering mentality, that's what you have to talk about. So I mentioned earlier that Nick Cannon was fired for talking about this on his podcast. So the question is, do I agree with his firing? I'm not sure if I do, and here's why. Viacom, the company that fired Cannon, is a massive media corporation that has worked with figures that are equally and perhaps even more troubling than Nick Cannon, including both Al Sharpton and Louis Farrakhan. So forgive me if I don't believe they actually have an issue with these statements. Sharpton and Farrakhan are friends after all, and Cannon even talks about where he learned these views from, Farrakhan being one of them. People's defense of Cannon have been, oh, he's just speaking facts, which I've already shown is not the case. oh, black people can't be racist. We've never had power, and because we've never had power, we can't be racist. So the whole prejudice plus power thing is an excuse for people to behave poorly and be incredibly racist, while still saying that they're not. There's been whataboutism. Well, what about Breonna Taylor's killers? What about those who were complicit in the murder of George Floyd, etc., etc.? So whataboutism is a form of gaslighting and an attempt to change the subject to something completely different than the topic at hand. It's weak and means you can't defend the things that are actually being said, so you have to switch it to something else. And another thing, he has not been canceled. He is still employed by Fox TV, and he will still have a job. He will still be making much more money than most people in the United States. And he will host many other things outside of Wild and Out. So do I support his firing? No, not really. Even though I think what he said was incredibly racist. And you want to know why? You want to know why I don't support his firing? Because I don't care what a 2-bit rapper thinks about anything, really. Next topic! So what I wanted to close on today is a little bit more of a light note. So we talked about racism. We talked about stupidity. And all those are fun and good, but I just want to close on a light note, and it's about connecting with people. It's about connecting with people, and that is, we need to start seeing each other as people with conflicting political beliefs. Right now we see each other as evil incarnate. So, for instance, if you're right wing, you see the left as the end of civilization, and they're going to bring death to America and all this stuff. And if you're left wing, you see the right as fascist, evil, racist, want to go out and lynch people. That's what you see the right as. Republicans and Democrats do have wildly varying beliefs, but there are some things we can agree on and some things that we can do to create actual change. So I have a friend on Facebook. Let's call him Trent. It's not his real name. Doesn't matter. We have dramatically different political beliefs, and we had a very cordial conversation about solutions to the issues that our local area faces. And we agreed on a lot, actually. My point is, as long as we view each other as the enemy instead of as an ally against government that has grown oppressive and lacks the necessary accountability, then the government will just continue to grow and grow and grow, more distant from the people that it governs, because we're too distracted by petty squabbles than trying to enact real change. So thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. LeBron makes millions off of Chinese slave labor. Okay, bye!